key senators are set to head back to the Capitol this morning as we're learning some new details about the negotiations for an immigration and border policy deal in exchange for aid to Ukraine and Israel. Two sources with knowledge of the talks are telling NBC News that senators in the negotiations are exploring ways to prevent a future president from abusing some of the executive powers to control the number of migrants seeking asylum. Specifically, one source says Democrats, with former President Trump in mind, want a, quote, safety valve to avoid cruelty and mass roundups far beyond the goal of controlling the border itself. That's a key sticking point as Republicans demand more expansive powers for the executive branch to crack down on a border situation they describe as uncontrolled and chaotic. Still, Senate leaders are cautiously optimistic about getting a deal done.
Madam President, over the past week, Democrats and Republicans have made important progress towards an agreement on the National Security Supplemental. While the job is not finished, I'm confident we're headed in the right direction.
There are a number of significant issues our colleagues are still working to resolve. I'm encouraged by our colleagues' commitment to keep making steady progress in their negotiations over the coming week.
Joining us now, congressional reporter for Politico and the lead writer for the Huddle newsletter, Daniela Diaz. Good morning, Daniela. Great to see you again. So, the Huddle headlined it this way: senators get more impatient with secret border Ukraine talks. So tell us why it's secret and why are these senators getting so impatient beyond the obvious that there's no deal yet?
Jonathan, you know as well as I do that if Democrats and Republicans talk broadly about what they're discussing for what a border package could look like that would be included in this the supplemental funding package that would have Israel aid, Ukraine aid, things can get messy incredibly quickly once people start weighing in on what should and shouldn't be in this package. I've been speaking at length with Latinos on the House side and the Democratic side, members who have constituents that are incredibly concerned about what border measures could be included in a supplemental funding package. And they say that they feel that they're not at the negotiating table. Now, remember, the three key negotiators here are James Lankford, a Republican, Kyrsten Sinema, independent from Arizona, and of course Chris Murphy, Democrat from Connecticut, and he is actually the key negotiator that came up with a gun reform package in recent years, so that's why he's at the negotiating table with Republicans. But this is some really high-stakes negotiations, and while Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer made it seem like there could be a vote this week on a package, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen anymore.
So if it pushes to January, let's talk how much trickier this gets, because the continuing resolutions that have funded the government are about to expire. So give us a preview as to what the first few weeks of 2024 could look like if, indeed, there's no deal reached before Christmas.
Jonathan, we're expecting January to be quite a mess on Capitol Hill. Not only is that first laddered CR, step stool CR, whatever you'd like to call that stopgap measure that's funding the government, is going to, the deadline is in January, mid-January. Not only is that going to happen, and the Congress is going to have to figure out how to fund the government again. Ukraine aid, Israel aid, a major priority for Democrats and some Republicans, will also need to be voted on, and that's only if there's border measures. They still haven't been able to reach a deal on that. And of course, Speaker Mike Johnson has committed to passing appropriations, and they haven't even been able to do that in the House. And the House isn't scheduled to come back until the second week of January, really close to that deadline of January 19th when the government funding is supposed to be up. So there's a lot at stake in January. And it's, as you know, as the viewers know, Congress is really slow when it comes to passing legislation and getting these things done. So it's going to be a lot for them to deal with when they come back from the holidays in January.
Yeah, that's going to be a white-knuckle ride that no one wants to take. So you mentioned the concerns among some of the Latino members. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus has largely been sidelined from these talks. Tell us a little bit about what they want to see here, but also more broadly speaking, the politics of this bill as we head into an election year where certainly there are some progressives who are very, very concerned about what sort of strict border measures may be put in place, but also polling suggests a lot of independent voters think something needs to get done at the border.
I think a lot of Americans have weighed in on this issue time and time again and believe that something should be done on the border, regardless of what side you're on. But the bigger picture here is that these members in the Congressional Hispanic Caucus come from a variety of different factions of the Democratic Party, and they all speak to constituents that want different things in, immigration reform, any immigration changes in the United States. The bigger picture here is that part of what's being discussed right now is changes to the asylum system, to parole, and that is something that a lot of CHC members don't want to see change because they believe it's important for the United States to allow the processing of migrants who are seeking asylum. Now, Republicans want changes, and as they've been calling it time and time again, border security measures. A lot of them have been talking about Title 42 type measures, essentially sending people back to a third-party country after they've applied for asylum instead of waiting in the United States. Democrats don't want to see that, at least more progressive members. So that is really what we're seeing from the CHC members who are frustrated that they're not at the negotiating table.
And we may have another moment in early next year of America broadcasting its dysfunction to the world, not able to get a border deal, potentially the government closing, and not able to send desperately needed funds to both Israel and Ukraine. Politico's Daniela Diaz, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And